I'm delighted to be joined by Eva Slacheva, Senior Business Manager at Moneycorp, who will be discussing international currency transfer considerations and strategies for US expats. Moneycorp is a leading provider of international money transfer and currency conversion for expats around the world, and you can find out more at moneycorp.com. Thank you very much for joining us, Eva. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing well. Before I hand over to Eva, please bear in mind that the information presented is for general educational purposes only, and you should always seek your own personalized financial advice. Eva will be answering your questions at the end, so please add them in the Q&A pop-up at the foot of your screen throughout, and we'll try to answer all of them at the end, time permitting. So without further ado, over to you, Eva.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Here we go. Hope everyone can see it. We're good? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all for having me. It's a real pleasure. I think events like this are so important. I love sharing information, especially when it comes to currency exchange and international payments. I will say, I think it gets overlooked. I think it oftentimes gets left as the very last thing to do. A lot of my clients are purchasing properties abroad or moving a large inheritance or maybe just moving living expenses. And oftentimes you line up all your other ducks in a row and then last minute you go, honey, we need to move our money. How are we going to do this? And I think that could really burn you. It should not be the very last thing you think about. It's important. The currency exchange rate market it's live. It's ticking every second. It can affect your buying decisions. It can really cost you thousands of dollars, unfortunately, if it moves against you. So really important to consider it as one of your top things on your to-do list, whether you're moving abroad or just have an upcoming international payment. Really, really not worth it to wait till the very last second. And this does mean a lot to me. I'm originally from Bulgaria. My whole family moved over to the US years ago. I'm now officially a Floridian. But we've been through it. We've been through the legal process, through moving our life, moving our money. So when I work with clients, it's personal for me. I really want to help you make the best decisions, be the most educated when you're doing this process so that you have a smooth way of doing so. I've been with Moneycorp close to 9 years now. I love what I do. If you can't tell, I'm based in Orlando, Florida. But Moneycorp actually has offices all around the world. We've been around since 1979. We're one of the largest currency exchange companies out there. We can help you exchange about 120 different currencies. I think today I'll focus a little bit more on the dollar and the euro, but we can help with lots of other currencies as well. And I would say the things that I really love is our team, our level of customer service. There's a lot of currency exchange companies out there, but our team really likes to handhold along the way, make sure you understand the process. We like the education element as well, keeping you updated. And this is just a quick slide to show you a few of the locations where we have teams and offices, and I'm based over in the Orlando one. Our website is jam-packed with information. Yes, there's information on our services, but also if you just want daily or weekly market updates, if you're wondering why did the US dollar go down last week? Well, our team provides constant updates, blogs, also webinars. So there's a whole tab called Currency Zone. You can take a look and there is loads and loads of information to keep you busy if you're interested. And also things like Overseas Property Guide, again, jam-packed with information. Most of my clients to purchase property abroad or sell a property internationally, but you can really use a currency exchange company for any legal reason to move money from one country to another, retirement money, paying for a wedding, paying for your kid's school in another country, receiving income from another country, endless different reasons. I would say for us specifically, our minimum amount is $250 per trade, and there is no maximum. So the number one question I think I get asked, and probably a lot of other people wondering, is why not go through the bank? Why should I use a currency exchange company? And I myself used the bank prior to working at Moneycorp when I moved money internationally, and I learned the hard way. Banks are great for everyday banking purposes, but when it comes to currency exchange, it's not their main point of business. And if they can charge a little more for that extra service, why not? And specifically in the US banks, unfortunately, are known to charge higher margins than banks around the rest of the world. There are two charges to look out for. One is the international wire fee, which varies from bank to bank. It's typically a flat fee. It can range anywhere from $30 up to $60, $65 per transfer. And a lot of the time, I would say clients sometimes assume that that is the cost of sending money internationally. They might be moving $100,000 and the bank teller will say, there's a $60 wire fee. Is that okay? That's just your international wire fee. The actual cost, the actual profit that the bank will make is the margin on the exchange rate. And that's often a hidden charge, I would say. And we've tested this with banks, and we've had clients tell us this. If you walk into a US bank and ask, what is the exchange rate today between the dollar and euro? I need to send money to Spain, for example. They'll likely quote you the live rate of exchange that you would see on Google. But that's not the exchange rate you're actually going to get when you're going ahead and converting your funds. So what you should be asking is what percentage, what margin are you taking on the exchange rate? So those are the two fees to look out for: international wire fee and the margin on the exchange rate. Working with a currency exchange company is a different ballgame. It's a lot more personalized. A currency exchange company, that is their business day in, day out. It's what they specialize in. So you will actually get a team of experts looking after you and looking after your transfer needs. With our company specifically, you get a dedicated currency dealer as soon as your Moneycorp account is set up. That person is there to discuss your payments, discuss your requirements, your timeline, give you information on the exchange rate movements, and really be in touch with you as much or as little as you would like along the way. But they're there to share their information, let you know what their outlook is on the exchange rate in the next 3 months or in the next year, and assist you and give you suggestions on different ways you can secure exchange rates. So with a currency exchange company, you will likely avoid the international wire fees because there's local accounts in the countries that you're sending money from likely, and there's no transfer fees. And in addition, the margin on the exchange rate would be significantly less than a bank. For us, we book trades all day, every day. So we are okay with making a small profit per client trade because this is what we specialize in. We buy the currency wholesale and we can pass on the savings to our clients. There's also different ways you can secure exchange rates, such as monitoring it, watch orders, limit orders, and locking into a rate of exchange for anywhere up to 2 years. Again, things that a typical bank does not offer and really does not care to offer because it's not what they specialize in. With us, and I would say with probably a lot of other currency exchange companies out there, the process is fairly easy. It's usually free to set up an account. It is with us, and I would say almost any other currency exchange company I could think of, it is free to set up an account. It usually is a quick online process. It's verifying your name and your address. That's really it. For our American clients, it's usually a 5-minute process to set up the account. Same for our Canadian clients. For our European clients, sometimes we may require one proof of ID and one proof of address, but again, same day account opening process. It's a simple transfer process. You set up an account, you speak with a currency dealer, you secure the exchange rate, let's say from dollar to euro, you fund your Moneycorp account with US dollars. This is a US based account, so no international wire fees. And the last step is you tell us where to pay your euros to. That could be to your own account or several different beneficiary accounts. You can enter and save as many as you'd like. We have clients that use us to pay attorney fees, pay rental fees, pay for their furniture that they just purchased, send money to friends and family, or just transfer money to their own bank account for living expenses. Whether you make one payment or 50 payments, there's no transfer fees. And if the need arises, once you're in Europe, to send money back to the US, for example, you can use the same account. It's just the same process, but backwards. We have a Euro client account based in Europe so that you can, again, avoid international wire fees. Those really can add up. You fund your Moneycorp account with euros, you convert to dollars, and then we send money to your US-based account. And again, if there's any Canadian clients joining on this webinar, the process is exactly the same. We have local Canadian accounts in Canada, so you can fund your account easily and transfer funds abroad. And again, if you need to send funds back to Canada, it works the same way. Today in this presentation, I'm mostly talking about US dollar and euro, but this can be done with many different countries and many different currency pairs. I'll show you a quick example just to sort of show you the currency fluctuation and the comparison so that you can get an idea of how much money you can save, because I think it is quite significant. We'll take Jane from US, who's looking to purchase property in Portugal for 350,000 euro. And gosh, at the moment, Portugal is probably our #1 spot, by the way, for Americans to invest in. It's definitely a hot spot right now, and probably the majority of my clients are currently sending money there. So I should probably visit Portugal, see what's going on there. If Jane was to go visit her US bank to compare exchange rates, she'll quickly see it will cost her about $1.11 to purchase €1. So then now she's spending about $388,000 to purchase that home in Portugal. If she does a quick comparison with Moneycorp, she'll look and see the exchange rate she's getting is now 1.08, so costing her $1.08 to purchase €1. And now she's spending $378,000. So pretty large savings, pretty significant savings. And in addition, she doesn't have to pay an international wire fee because the Moneycorp account is in the US. No transfer fees either. Along the way, and I would say this is probably very similar with other currency exchange companies as well. Along the way, when you're booking exchanges, funding your account, making transfers out, you will get confirmations, PDF statements, showing a very clear proof of funds and flow of funds. For any clients that are looking to make an investment abroad, especially in Europe, this is oftentimes required. So if that's something that you need, a proof of transfer of funds, we can certainly provide it to you. And end of the year, you can get sort of like an overlook of all the transfers that you did for the year, kind of like a bank statement. So it can be looked at and used that way as well. This slide, I think, is quite important. It really highlights currency exchange fluctuation. So we know that Jane is buying property in Portugal for 350,000 euro. But what if Jane didn't wait until the last minute? You don't just wake up and go to the bank and transfer a bunch of money. I guess some people do, but most people don't. If you plan early, there's certainly potential for savings. Back in December, the euro US dollar was 1.05. So if Jane had pre-purchased euros then, it would have cost her $367,500. Month before that, November of last year, the exchange rate was ticking at 1.03. Then it would have cost her $360,500. So again, this is just from one month to the other, but you can see the exchange rate moved quite significantly, and that movement has a big impact on the US dollar amount. October, it was 0.97, so $339,500. A lot of our clients, especially our savvy investors, we do encourage them start early, open your Moneycorp account, I would say 6 months to a year before you're actually going to transfer money. We're not going to call you every day and ask you if you want to book a trade. That's wasting everyone's time. But if you want information, if you want to target a specific exchange rate, then you have instant ability and a team to help you do so. So Jane could have easily pre-purchased euros back in October. She could have left those euros on account with us and then said, look, I'm not ready to make a payment. I'm not buying until next year, or whatever the requirement might be. She can hold those euros on account with us for an unlimited amount of time. And when she's ready to make the payment, she can transfer that money to any account or multiple recipient accounts she would like. In addition to pre-purchasing currency, we have things such as a watch order and limit order. So this is a quick look between the euro and US dollar exchange rate from last summer, from July of 2022, up through now. And you can see it's difficult to navigate. There's a lot of ups, there's a lot of downs. We've had a few busy years where a lot of events have impacted the currency exchange rate market. So if you're just thinking of moving a large amount of money abroad in the next few months or the next year, this is what I mean by waiting could really cost you. There are services. Watch order is something whereby a client says, hey, Moneycorp, I really want to know when the exchange rate between the euro and the US dollar is 1.03. So when 1.03 hits, please email me, please let me know. So we'll set up a rate alert email, and when that exchange rate is available, we'll notify the client. They can decide if they want to call us and trade. A limit order is a more automated version of that same process. A client will say to their Moneycorp currency dealer or currency exchange company, I really would like 103, and when 103 hits, I would like to purchase X amount of euros, please. So when that exchange rate hits, whether that's tomorrow or months down the line, when that exchange rate becomes available, our system will automatically purchase the euros for her, send her an email confirmation letting her know the transaction has been executed and that we're waiting for her to pay the US dollars to cover that contract. Clients really like the limit order. I would say especially clients that travel a lot or just busy individuals, people that can't wake up every day and check on the rates and check on the markets and get updated on the news. They just want to instantly take advantage of that rate whenever it becomes available. So I would say that's a very popular option. The forward contract is also popular, especially during specific times when we see, big news happening, big headlines, big swings in the market. Great opportunities to lock in that exchange rate. So we can lock in for anywhere up to 2 years' time. Example of that was last Friday. Just last week on Friday, we saw a movement between the US dollar and euro exchange rate. It was about 2.5 cents that it swung. Well, clients rang right away and they went ahead and locked in that rate of exchange. Some clients locked in for 6 months time. Some clients locked in for 1 year. Those were clients that were looking to purchase property in Europe or just move a large amount of money to Europe. And they just went ahead and locked in right away. Great service. It only requires clients to put down 10% of the total amount that they'll be eventually transferring, and Moneycorp pre-purchases the total amount of euros instantly. So really great services. Again, banks don't offer these. Typically currency exchange companies do, not all, but double check and read up on the currency exchange company you wish to work with and see what services they offer. But really, really great, I think, easy ways to take advantage of favorable market swings, and it could equal thousands of dollars in savings. A few things to consider, especially I would say if you're moving funds from the US. US banks, I'm noticing year after year, tend to be getting stricter. There's always new security measures, probably for a good reason, anti-money laundering rules and regulations. There's a lot of fraud. But that being said, sometimes regular people are just trying to access their regular accounts and make regular payments. And it can be really difficult, especially if that American client is now overseas in Europe, trying to communicate with their US bank. I have a lot of clients ringing me based in Europe now who are saying, oh, my US bank is a nightmare. I can't move money. What should I do? So I would say a few things to consider. If possible, prior to leaving the US, stop by your US bank. Ask them all the tough questions. What are my online banking limits? Is there a daily, weekly, monthly amount that I can move out of this account online? Can you raise those limits for me if I ask? How can I update information with you, like update my address or phone number or whatever else it might be? Those sound like simple tasks, but when you are overseas trying to speak with customer service with your US bank, it's not. It's a headache. So if you can get it done prior to leaving, great. If not, it might be a few hours on the phone, but I'm definitely noticing a lot more clients experiencing a lot of frustration, and especially in the last year. If you're trying to initiate a large transfer, A large transfer means different things to different people and to different banks, but I would say anything over $50,000. Banks sometimes are requiring clients to be physically present at the branch when they're trying to initiate that large payment out of the bank. Again, it's for security, it's for anti-money laundering rules and regulations, but some clients cannot be there even if they want to. So again, things to consider. What some of our clients do is when they visit the US or prior to leaving the US, they will go and they'll actually pre-fund their Moneycorp account with a larger amount of US dollars. And then they'll go travel or go to Europe or go do what they need to do. But once the dollars are already in their Moneycorp account, they can instantly access them from anywhere in the world. They can book exchanges, they can book transfers. Once the funds are with us, easy transfers, easy exchanges. But sometimes it can be difficult to directly deal with the US bank. And the final one, which is again a new one, and we're sort of following this to see why it's happening to certain clients and not others, is we're seeing clients, American clients that have moved over to Europe who have sold their US properties and no longer have a US address linked to their name. And we're seeing those US banks sort of send a letter to them saying, you no longer have a US address, your account may close. We're giving you 60 days to transfer your funds out. Again, this is not happening to everyone. There's not one specific bank that's doing this. It's happening to certain clients. So just, I guess, FYI, be aware that it's getting stricter and stricter. And the only thing I could tell you is plan ahead, ask questions, make sure you can easily access your funds when you need them, so that there's no surprises later on. And the next slide I would say is a bit obvious, a bit not, I would say, but just a reminder that currency exchange rate market is always live. It's always ticking. The last few years, we've had, not a shortage of events happening that have really impacted the market. And just to reiterate, don't wait until the very last minute to transfer funds. We, between Brexit and COVID and I mean, so much has happened. Russia-Ukraine war last year, gosh, it feels like such a long time ago now, but last year in February, that just caused global markets and economies. It was really a shockwave, and it's still impacting supply chains, and all of those essentially bad events that happened tend to push that US dollar up. It's considered a safe haven currency. Almost anytime I look at the news and I see something bad is happening globally, I can expect that US dollar will shoot up again. Because of that, and maybe not just because of that, there's other factors involved, but in 2021, we started really seeing Americans buying abroad. In 2022, that was just happening full on. So many clients are moving over there. And this year, again, we expect more and more of that trend. A lot of Americans, a lot of Canadians investing in Europe, moving to Europe. Exchange rates are still favorable, although I will say, this year, expectations perhaps are correction in the market. After these tumultuous few years of that high US dollar, we might see a correction in the market now. We might see that US dollar slowly go down, the euro and the pound and other currency pairs to slowly recover. So if you are looking to move funds from the US to Europe, potentially that exchange rate might slowly be moving against you. So plan ahead, look at forward contracts, pre-purchase euros. Again, do not wait until the very, very last second. These little inserts are from our daily market updates from our Moneycorp website. They can actually get emailed directly to you if you wish to sign up for that, or you can just visit the website and read them. But these are just a few of the headlines that we've seen just this year, January and February. In 2022 and 2021, all we saw is high US dollar, record high US dollar. And this year, the headlines we're seeing is weaker dollar, weaker dollar, weaker dollar. So plan ahead so that you're not paying more for those euros than you need to, because we just don't know what this year will bring. And this is my contact information. This is my personal cell phone number, my email address. I'm always happy to reach out if you have any questions, happy to help you, happy to discuss your needs. if you, for example, end up setting up a Moneycorp account, but don't necessarily have an upcoming payment to make, no worries. You can still have that account, get information, get a quote, speak with a currency dealer. If you don't use the account for 1 year time and there's no money in it, it will eventually lapse and close. Or you can specifically tell us to close it if you wish to. But we like the education element of it. So if you just want to receive updates, track exchange rates, speak with a currency dealer, stay updated, you're more than welcome to try out the service and see if it helps you with your needs and your payments. But I'd love to leave some time for questions if there are any, and make sure that everyone understands the process. And thank you for listening.
Well, thank you very much, Eva. That was awesome. You covered, I think, so much. It's so true. I lived abroad many years, and you know, for any amount, but the bigger the amount, the more you save. But it's so worth using companies like Moneycorp. There are big savings to be made, and if you're doing, you know, a big spend like buying a property or something like that, then you save a lot of money. So it's fantastic information. Right, so let's jump into a Q&A section. We've got quite a few questions here, and do please keep sending them in. Let's start with, how do things function when larger amounts of currency are had? I think this relates to US reporting, so I'm not sure if it's something you can address. With larger amounts of currency over 10,000 US dollars, for example, is there a reporting obligation when transferring those sums of money?
Right. So as far as Moneycorp goes, and I would probably say currency exchange companies in general, we don't do such reporting. The reason for that is we are not a bank. So banks have certain reporting obligations to make, both banks in Europe and banks in the US. We're an international payments company. We're just in charge of exchanging your money and getting it from point A to point B. So we will not do such reporting, but your US bank likely will. Your European bank likely will, especially if you're an American who has opened a European bank. There's certain specific rules and regulations that bank has, you know, towards you as a client and towards the US government for having you as a client. So yes, banks have to do such reportings, but we do not. You can move over 100,000 or, you know, as much as you'd like really out of your US bank account. Nobody can stop you to do so. But sometimes you might be required to be physically there at the branch to sign off on that wire transfer, you know, for security, to prove that you are who you say you are and you're moving your own money. But other than that, you're welcome to move as much as you'd like.
I think the other thing to say there is it's not the transfer that triggers reporting so much as when it lands in a foreign bank account. There's reporting implications to having those sums of money in foreign bank accounts. We've got lots of tax experts coming on in some other sessions in a couple of days' time. So I urge you to register for those, and they'll definitely address those US reporting.
There's always loads of tax questions, always. There can never be enough time to answer all the tax questions.
Right. So here's another question. How can I transfer money from the USA to, say, France if I don't have a bank account in France? Is that possible?
Yes, absolutely. And that's a really good question. So it's not a requirement for us. And again, I would say for most currency exchange companies, for you to have an account in the country where the funds are going to. We can pay to any recipient account. So for example, if you are investing, you know, buying a property in France, then likely you will be transferring the euros directly to an account that the notaire provides you, which is their version of a title company. So you'll likely be moving funds directly into an account that the notaire provides you. Once you live there, once you get there, you will likely need an account for just ongoing expenses, but you don't need that account to begin with. We can send payments directly to the person you're paying rent to. We can send money to the attorney, to the notaire. Once you get there, once you have time and you establish an account, then you can say to us, hey, I have a bank account now, Moneycorp, any euros I have in my account, can you transfer over to my, you know, personal French bank account, for example? But no, not a requirement. We can send the money anywhere. If you tell us, I have a family member and they'll receive the money on my behalf, that is okay with us. We'll send the money there.
That's great. Some questions about Moneycorp, particularly and how it works. Somebody said, sorry, Michael's Seeloff says, if we park money in our account at Moneycorp, is there any interest paid if, for example, they're waiting for a particular exchange rate before the money's sent?
Good question again. That's not going to apply. And the reason is, again, we're not a bank. So you're not going to earn any interest on the funds sitting in your Moneycorp account. Moneycorp is not going to earn any interest on the money sitting in this account. It's a completely segregated client safeguard account. You can think of it, especially for our American clients, if you've ever bought or sold property, you use the title company and you sent money to an escrow account. It's a very similar situation. Moneycorp's operational everyday finances are completely separate. Moneycorp cannot touch, move, invest, do anything with that money. So no interest is earned on that money while it's sitting in the account. But the reality is, if the exchange rate moves a tiny bit in your favor, you're likely going to benefit and earn or save, whichever way you want to look at it, save a lot more money rather than perhaps an interest that a bank could pay you for a few months' time or a year's time. It varies. Some banks pay more, some banks pay less, but the reality is getting a better exchange rate will actually make you a lot more money than the interest. Now, you don't have to keep the funds on account with Moneycorp in order to take advantage of the limit order, the watch order, the forward contracts. That's sort of the beauty of it. You can actually say to Moneycorp, I want to secure a trade when the exchange rate hits this. We'll lock it in for you as soon as that exchange rate hits. You don't need to have the money on account with us. As soon as that rate hits and the contract is executed, you will get an email confirmation, and then we'll say, please pay for your contract within the next 5 business days. So then we'll ask you to go ahead and fund the account with US dollars, but they don't need to sit on account with us. Clients do that sometimes. Most of the time, it's an example of an American who sold their US property, and they said to the title company in the US, please fund my proceeds, please transfer my proceeds directly into my Moneycorp account. I don't even want it going in my US bank. So they just completely take the US bank out of it. They put the proceeds into their Moneycorp US dollar account, and then they say, leave it there. I'm deciding what to do. I'm looking to move to Europe. I'll call you when I'm ready. Call me when the exchange rate moves in my favor. And then they're not at all worried about fees that the US bank will give them. How are they going to transfer the large amount of money out? It's with us. They can make instant decisions. So I'd say those are the cases when people leave funds on account, but you certainly don't have to, not a requirement.
That's great, thank you. There are a couple of questions here that are similar. The first one, I'll ask both, and then because I think the answer will be similar. But first one is, can US pensions be directly deposited into a Moneycorp on a monthly basis and then transferred abroad? And the second one is, could an employer pay directly into Moneycorp? There's somebody who's lives in the Eurozone but paid in US dollars in the US. Could their employer pay directly to Moneycorp, and then you'd send the euros straight to whichever country in Europe it is?
So the first part of the question, the pension. So Moneycorp, we are happy to receive funds into the Moneycorp accounts from anyone. Anyone can fund the Moneycorp account. However, the reality is that the pension company will likely not want or be able to pay money into your Moneycorp account. They will likely say, we can only pay into your personal US bank account because of their own sort of rules and regulations that they have to follow. Now, once the pension gets paid into your US bank account, what you can do is you can set up ACH payments. You can sort of set up direct ACH payments for that money to be transferred from your US bank into your Moneycorp account, for example, without a fee. And then once it hits your Moneycorp account, you can exchange it monthly and transfer it if you'd like, or you can let it accumulate and monitor the exchange rate movements, because who's to say that the exchange rate will work out for you, each month on that specific day when your pension comes in. So it may be worth leaving it, doing that limit order and saying when the exchange rate hits X, then go ahead and convert it and transfer it. So we can receive it from the pension company, but likely the pension company will say, no, we have to pay into your US bank account, but you can easily fund the Moneycorp account. Now the employer is different. There's a little bit more leeway there. And we do that. We do have people that say they get directly paid their salary, their income into their US dollar Moneycorp account. Because it's not so much a government organization, put it that way, there's just an easier way to communicate, and you just give the details to your employer and say, please pay me here. So that's no problem. That happens quite often. And a lot of our Americans based in Europe do utilize the account for that.
That's great. There are a few people asking, how is Moneycorp different from Wise or other companies? How do you differentiate yourself?
Yep. Good question. So Wise in particular, I think they're a great company. I've not heard bad things about them. I would say the biggest difference is they are online. They are strictly an online platform. So anything you need to do is just you go in online, you plug in an amount, you exchange, you transfer. It's great for quick payments. But if you need assistance, guidance, someone to, handhold you along the way, give you information on the exchange rate market, such and such, to my knowledge, that's not available. And that's actually something that I think really differentiates us. We have an online platform, but what we really pride ourselves on is the education element and our customer service team. My team in particular, phone rings more than twice, has to get answered. It's a rule. So it's never going to be hard to get a hold of your Moneycorp contact person. If you have a question, if you need assistance, if you want a quote, if you are just not sure when and how to exchange your money. So I would say that really differentiates us. The other one is the ability for us to help clients in many, many places. A lot of currency exchange companies are not licensed to help in every US state. It costs a lot of money to get licensed in every state. And not only that, but it takes a lot of time to get approved to obtain that license. So we can help all over the US. We can help clients all over Canada, and of course, in many, many other countries as well. And then the very last part is really the brand, the security. I think that speaks a lot. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know which way to look at it. There's a lot of currency exchange companies, one popping up, I feel like every day. So do your homework on their security, do your homework on their compliance, because what we saw during COVID is a lot of them go out of business because they purchased large orders that they couldn't handle. So just be careful and do your homework on the company. If it helps anyone on this call to sort of feel more secure and to let you know about our level of compliance and security, I would tell you one of our biggest clients is actually the United Nations. So if that doesn't relay security and what stringent compliance auditing we had to go through, then I don't know what will. So I would say those are the three big things.
Thank you. There are a few questions about which countries you do and don't or can and can't send money to. You did show a map, I think, earlier on in the presentation. I spotted at the time, it didn't look like Australia and New Zealand weren't red on the map. Are they, can you send money from the US or back and forth between the US and Australia and New Zealand?
So we can do that. And actually, just so there's no confusion, the map that I showed earlier was not the places where we can help. It's the places where Moneycorp has offices and teams. So just because we don't have a team in a certain country doesn't mean that we cannot help there. It just means we might not have people on the ground or a physical office in that country. So we can help about 120 different currency pairs. And a lot of the time, especially I would say with our international clients, people that invest and move around, a lot of the time it's a case where the client lives in the US, but their money's coming from France and they're buying in Australia. So we're used to those, unique requirements, and we can handle those. You can look on our website and there's actually a list of currencies that we can trade. But I would say, just send us a quick email or give me a quick call and just say, hey, Eva, I live here and I have money there and I want to send it there. Can you help? I'll give you a very quick answer. If I don't know, I'll ask my compliance team, but that way we're not wasting, anyone's time. We try to help in as many places as we can. There are some countries that are sanctioned, meaning we cannot work with them. An example of that would be Russia. So we were able to work with Russia prior to February of last year. And then as of February of last year, we cannot. And I assume many other companies are, under the same predicament. That might change in the future. But as of right now, we cannot work with Russia. Another country that is a little bit more difficult to work with for our purposes for currency exchange, for example, is China. And that's just because they have restrictions on how much money you can move in or out. So there is not a posted list of countries where we can help. The reason for that is it can change all the time. So we never want to publish that and have someone, print it out and live by those rules, because they, compliance rules can change day in, day out. So just check in with us and we'll quickly let you know how and if we can help. But to answer your question, transfers, between Australia and New Zealand, no problem. We trade those two currencies.
That's great. There are quite a few questions asking about a specific country, so I'd say to those people who ask those questions, just drop Eva an email.
Exactly.
And ask. So you work with 120 currencies. How many currencies are there? Do you know?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I should know the answer to that question.
I was thinking it might be something you hadn't been asked before.
I'm gonna write that down to later.
Well, just 120 sounds like a lot. I mean, if you think all the European countries have.
No one has asked me that question before, but I feel like I should know the answer to that. Working for a currency exchange company, you got me. I don't know, but I will look it up. Google will
probably know. But that must be the majority of currencies, 120. You'd think.
It is a lot. I mean, I would say, based on research I've done on what our competitors are doing, a lot of the time I see them doing anywhere between 30 to 90 different currencies that they can do. And also don't forget, or actually, I don't think I mentioned this, we help individuals, but we also help businesses and corporations and, people that are investing under LLC or trust or, under their business. And when you have a business account, there's more capabilities that account can do. For compliance purposes, international payments are easier for businesses, I would put it that way. So you can trade more currencies under a business account and have more interesting ways to secure exchange rates than I would say on an individual account. Of course, as businesses have a lot more unique requirements. So it's worth noting, if anyone has a business need, we can help with that as well.
I'm sure that's good to know. Actually, a lot of expats do have business transfer needs. So somebody has very anonymous attendee has very helpfully put, Google says there are 180 currencies worldwide. So
thank you. Okay.
So you're working with 2/3 of them.
Perfect. Learned something new. I appreciate it.
So looking through the questions, there are a lot about specific currencies.
Okay.
Websites to personal business accounts
out there.
There's a couple of people have asked, how does Moneycorp make its fees? You said there are no, or make money. You said there were no transfer fees, and they're getting, they get the mid-market rate. No, there must be a difference between that and the rate you offer.
Yes, so we don't work fully for free. That would be a very bad business model. But essentially, nobody is getting the live interbank rate of exchange. Companies will use different terms, whether it's commission, fee, margin, but in some way or another, they will charge you in some shape or form when you're converting from one currency into another. Otherwise, if anyone's doing it for free, call me so I can exchange my money there. But essentially, the way that Moneycorp does it is our rate, our margin is built into the exchange rate the client gets. So that's the only way we make our money. It's the difference between the interbank live rate of exchange and the rate that the client is given. So for example, if you are booking an exchange rate with Moneycorp today, you're speaking with your currency dealer and you say, I need 50,000 euros. How much US dollars is that going to cost? The currency dealer will tell you it will cost this many US dollars. You're going to get this exchange rate and there's no additional fees. So we built in our margin into the quote provided. That way there's nothing additional to pay. No transfer fees, no surprise account fees and such. So again, we don't make a lot of profit per client trade, but we book trades all day, every day. So we really purchase our currency wholesale and we wish to pass on the savings to the client. It works that way. But other companies, some companies will say you're getting the live rate, but you're going to pay a fee. So in some shape or form, a fee, a margin, a commission will be paid. It's just a matter of comparing. And I would say if you want to compare between a few different companies on rates, do so one after the other. So call one company, get a quote, call the other company right away, get a quote. Because if you get a quote in the morning and then call another company in the afternoon, you're not comparing apples to apples. The exchange rate has moved. So try to do your comparison one after the other to make sure you're working off the same live rate.
That's great. That's very helpful. Thank you. Somebody has asked, do you have any forecasts for GDP or euros relative to US dollars for the coming months or year?
It's difficult to have a prediction. It's especially if anything in the last few years has taught us, you really don't know what's going to happen. I'm afraid to say we're going to have like a calm year in comparison to the last few years, because I said that last year and we didn't. So it's difficult to predict. I would say my prediction is just kind of reiterating what I said earlier. I think it's going to be a year of where the market is going through a correction. We've had a few very busy years with loads of global events happening and really impacting the market. And I think the US dollar was a bit overvalued during that time, it being a safe haven currency. So I think we're just slowly seeing that correction in the market. But on the flip side of that, there's a lot of finance people that are sort of, I don't want to say scaring, people or putting scary headlines out there. But, there is talk of a global recession. There is these big headlines that are sort of saying it's going to be a tough year. And the reality is, if that does happen, then that would likely benefit the US dollar again. Because again, big global news, something bad happening in the world, people invest in the safe currency, people invest back in the dollar. So I think if things get sticky this year and we do see a bad recession globally, it would likely benefit the dollar once again. The currency dealers, so anytime any one of you sets up a Moneycorp account, like I said, you'll get allocated a currency dealer. They're the ones that literally have 3 screens in front of them all day long, and they watch news, they watch the rates. They're the ones that can give you, honestly, a lot more information than I can in depth on the market. They also follow upcoming economic news, speeches, political events that will be happening in the coming weeks and coming months. And they usually can predict to a certain extent how that might affect, market sentiment. And they'll reach out to their clients if they know they're doing a big trade soon. And they'll say, hey, for example, next week, there's inflation report on Tuesday. Well, if your currency dealer knows that you'll be doing a big transfer in the next week, they might ring you on Monday and go, hey, this thing is happening tomorrow. I think it'll have a negative effect on the dollar. Do you want to pre-purchase now, or do you want to wait and see what happens? So that's what I mean by you're really getting that extra education, that extra service on the end of the line. They're the experts on the exchange rate market. I just do this. I do the fun stuff. I get to share about the service, but you'll get someone really looking after you and talking exchange rates. But my personal view, we'll see a correction in the market. And I think in the next 6 months, we'll see that dollar slowly declining.
Thank you very much. That's super interesting. Matthew says, how long does it take to settle your currency trades?
To settle the currency trades?
Yes. So so for example, if you send money from US dollars to euros, how long does it take to arrive at the other end?
So it could be as quick or slow as you make it. For example, the funding of the Moneycorp account could take half an hour to an hour. It really depends on your bank and how and when you initiate the funding of the account. So that's really fast. The booking of the exchange rate is instant. If you're on the phone with the currency dealer, they secure it for you right then and there as you agree, or using online, instant. And as far as sending the payment to the recipient account, we await for you to give us the recipient bank instructions. You can provide those online. You can provide them a few different ways. We need to verbally verify those with you for security. So again, it's a matter of how quickly we get a hold of you to make that verification. And then we send the payment out to the recipient. If it's going from US to Europe and it's initiated morning US time, it will arrive in European recipient account same day. If you initiate the payment to Europe later in the US business day, like in the afternoon, then the payment will likely hit the European bank account next morning. So it can be same day or next business day, depending on, the client and how quickly they give us the information or give us the instruction to send the payment. But we also have clients that go very slow. We'll have clients that book the exchange rate today and then say, Moneycorp, I don't have time to send you the money for, because I'm busy. So I won't send you the money until next week, Wednesday. So then we have to wait till next week, Wednesday to receive the dollars. Once we do, we'll convert to euros. And then again, we wait for the client to tell us when and where to send it to. Some clients do an instant exchange and transfer out. Some clients take their time, leave the funds on account, and maybe they don't know yet where the funds will go to. So it's very different, but most of our clients, I would say, it's next business day.
That's great. A couple of people asking if the funds are insured while they're with Moneycorp in some way, either by federally or in any way.
Yep. So in the US, for our US dollar, essentially any country where Moneycorp has client safeguard accounts, they are held with one of the major banks. So in the United States, if you have US dollars on account with us, you're either using JP Morgan Chase or Bank of America. If you're one of our Canadian clients, you're using our Bank of America account in Canada. If you're in the UK, you're using our Barclays account in the UK, and so on and so forth. So we have client safeguard accounts with different banks around the world that hold different currencies. Again, it's a separate client segregated account. What that means is any funds that you have on account with Moneycorp, Moneycorp has to guarantee it in the unlikely event of Moneycorp closing tomorrow, for example, and you have funds on account with us. All that will happen with the funds on account is one of two things. They'll either get returned back to the originating bank account where they came from, if that's what you tell us to do, or they'll get sent to a recipient account of your choice. Moneycorp cannot withhold it. We cannot do anything with it. We can only send it to a recipient account or bring it back to the originating account. I have a lot of legal sort of PDFs and paperwork on security of client funds that I can always provide to people. It's also on our website, but I can share it with anyone that likes. So if you're Canadian, I can send you the Canadian security PDF. If you're US, the US one, and so on and so forth. We've never lost money, thankfully. If we did, I don't think I'd be talking to you guys, presenting to you guys today. Security is very big for us. So yes, any funds you have on account with us are safe and guaranteed. And I can send you all the legal paperwork on that if anyone wants to see it. Just shoot me an email or a text message.
That's great. And another question is about if you have to make regular payments, for example, it could be, I guess, a monthly salary payment or for school or college fees or something like that. Can you set that up automatically?
So to my knowledge, we have some automatic regular payments available. At the moment, I believe that's only available for our British clients because we're originally a British UK-based company. However, I know that some of our American clients who are transferring funds to Europe, they set up a regular ACH with their US bank for the Moneycorp account to get funded on the same day, each month. As far as booking the exchange rate and making the transfer out from the Moneycorp account, it's not automated. And honestly, the reason for that is because clients want the flexibility of making sure they're getting the best exchange rate, making sure they're securing the rate at the best time. So you get an automated email from Moneycorp which says funds received. All it takes is for you to log in, book exchange, and send payment. It won't take more than 5 minutes. I wouldn't say it's fully automated, but a lot of our clients prefer that because they want to leave funds on account, they want to watch the exchange rate, they want to decide how and when to exchange it rather than make it an automated process. But if we do get more demand and interest in a regular payment process from the US to Europe, it is something that our team might implement in the future. As of right now, it's not been asked for too much. I would say the majority of our clients are doing a larger payment, for investment purposes. So that hasn't been asked for too much, but if it becomes a demand, we might implement it. But as of right now, no regular transfer process, but still fairly easy to do so month to month over the phone or online.
That's great. There's another question about incoming foreign funds. So I assume that's sending money back to the US and whether different fees occur. But I guess it's the same as far as Moneycorp is concerned, whether they're outgoing or ingoing.
Well, US banks like to charge fees for almost anything. So typically, just like there's an outgoing fee, there's an incoming wire fee as well. So if you're sending money from Europe back to the US using Moneycorp, you can avoid that incoming US bank fee. You just need to send your payment from Moneycorp to your US bank using ACH method rather than Swift wire. If we do a Swift wire, and it doesn't matter to us, there's no cost difference to Moneycorp or which one you select. The cost difference is how your bank will receive it. So if you just select ACH payment versus wire or Swift, then the US bank will not charge you. And again, that's something that the currency dealer will likely bring up in the conversation when you're telling him book the exchange rate and send that payment to my US bank. They might ask you, do you want us to send it this way so you avoid the fee, or do you want it sent that way for any particular reason? But yes, there are incoming fees to look out for, and we can help you avoid them by sending the payment a different way.